everyone, welcome to Commander Pop Culture. If you like the video, be sure to subscribe so you'll be notified of future content. Hey everybody, welcome to my second video of Commander Masters spoiler season. First one, we got Deadly Rollick. It's getting a full art treatment and it's got my Judith on the front of it. If one is spoiled, it means the rest are spoiled, or it's going to come out in this set. The best ones of this cycle is definitely the black one, the red one, and the blue one. The white and green one normally fall on the cheaper side of things. You could get a copy of Deadly Rollick for $30. The price is going to go down though. I recently learned that the set is going to have 24 full art treatments in total in the set. And they're going to insert those in all of the booster products. So that includes the draft booster, the set booster, and the collectors, which is insane. I don't know if they were always inserting these into draft boosters, but they're going to be in there. So some would think that this is going to be an expensive copy or version of Deadly Rollick. I don't think it is. I think if you watch my first video, when you make a reprint, everything goes down in price. And maybe the full art premium version will be just a few bucks more. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like, I don't know, somewhere between 25 and 30, and then the other copies go for 20 or less. Time will only tell, but I'm quite excited. She's a pretty scary dominatrix. Look at those forearms. Holy cow. Looks like she's got calf muscles on there. You gotta be strong to twirl that chain spike whip around all day. She could step on me all day if she wanted to. We are getting a full art of Insurrection. I don't know if Insurrection is as popular as it once was. I feel like some of these cards that were spoiled today, the executives that chose these must have been in a time capsule, because I haven't been killed by an Insurrection in years. Maybe like 2014, 2015 was the last time I was probably killed by this spell. I don't see it that much anymore. I think the game is just way too efficient. And with how many versions are going to get printed, and with them inserting these in all the booster boxes, there's no way that it can maintain its $11 price tag value with the demand as being as low as it is. I just don't see people playing this card anymore. And I'd be surprised if it could maintain that dollar value. But I'm excited. It looks cool. I just don't think it gets played as much anymore. Kind of says a lot about the executives at Wizards that they're not all that in touch with the meta and the player base.
Friday is Hawaiian Shirt Day. So, if you want to, go ahead and wear a Hawaiian shirt and jeans.
Got Mizzix that is Magus. This guy was great in his heyday. I think he still gets a lot of play. It's just unfortunate because Midnight Hunt came out with a 3-drop commander that's just better in every way. So Mizzix kind of has fallen to the back seat. Again, you would think that coming from Wizards, they're the ones that print all these cards, because Commander Masters implies that it's the best of the best of that format. And I think Vadric just, kicked him from the top of that mountain a long time ago. And the price value shows. You get a copy for $1.50. So I don't think people will be all too excited about this reprint. We got another one of these pestle backgrounds in Urza Lord High Artificer. I think this one is better than the previous two I already talked about in the Ur-Dragon and Selvala, because I think the royal purple really lends itself to the image a lot better than the other two. I'm still kind of bummed out that this card has this pastel treatment. There's so much story that you could tell in all that empty space around him. Although the pose that he's got with the elevated chin, kind of scoffing, lifting your nose, showing your nose to people, it kind of says a lot about his personality. And so they captured that with just the pose pretty well. But I still don't think it compares to the one from Dominaria Remastered. Like, you capture everything and you use all the space effectively. Like, why would anyone... If you're going to make a borderless card, especially a new card, it should compete with its previous iterations to get people to want to spend and buy your product. And it doesn't beat this. I just don't know why people would go for this over that. And you get a copy of Urza for $15, albeit even this version that I praise way more. So that's a pretty sweet deal. I imagine this goes for cheaper because I don't think people find it as popular. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I just remembered something that I learned because I post all my videos on Reddit and Facebook, and I came across some really fascinating information about the sales of Commander Masters and the product quantities that's coming out. It's insane. I don't know if the data is true to back it up, but I don't know what reason this person would have to lie to me. So let's pull that up. They give me the impression that they are something more than your average player, like a store owner or someone that moves a significant amount of product. And I would like to learn where he's getting all this data from. But in this giant block of text, he goes over, I keep wanting to say he, but Amab Bo Freshman. Sorry if I butchered your name. They go on to describe that the double masters in the low tier set, the Commander Masters set, will have double the quantity in print compared to those two products. Two very popular products, and it's still selling. Collector booster packs are still going for $55 plus, and the set booster and the draft booster hasn't changed either.
Oh my god.
I don't know if the average person knows this information, that it's getting double the print run of those extremely popular sets, and it feels like there's a lot on the market in terms of double masters and Lord of the Rings. I am very curious what the singles are going to look like come post-release, if that data is true, if we're going to get double the amount of cards printed and what that will do in the single market. It should, in theory, make everything tank. Hopefully people stop buying into the hype and stop buying the sealed products at the prices that they currently are, because it's going to go pretty far down there. Okay, just fun piece of information. I'm going to continue now and go over more of the spoilers. Okay. Omnath, Locus of Mana. It's another one of those cards where I don't see that much anymore. And I wonder, he's still pretty powerful for what he does. It's also got that pastel background, but I think it lends itself to this style of art because it's more cartoony and the color scheme kind of goes well with him. The only thing I don't like about the art is he kind of loses a little bit of his identity as an elemental. He looks kind of more like an ooze right now, with those like very bulbous fingers and his overall shape. But out of all the pastel backgrounds that I've seen so far, this is by far the best one. And I think when we go further along, we'll see another elemental that also has the same style with another background that I also like. So whoever was in charge of this one did a bang up job. And then the design. You can get a copy of Omnath for, looks like $6.50. So it's not that great of a mythic to be pulling in terms of value, but I think this is a commander, even though time kind of forgot about it, it's worth revisiting. Like one of the best things that you could have done with Omnath was have a Vidalcan Orrery in play. If someone kills Omnath, that mana is still in your pool until the next phase or step occurs. So all that mana that you're dumping into him to pump him up, you could use it to recast him and then maintain the mana that's still in your mana pool. There's all kinds of new goodies that have came out since Omnath's heyday. We have a lot of mana doublers. We have more ways to cast Omnath at flash speed, like Yeva and Vivian 3-drop Planeswalker from War of the Spark that also gives green creatures flash. It's fantastic. So I would like to see Omnath get a resurgence in play, because I think there's just a lot of tools. Spellseeker is getting a full art treatment. This is a staple in any deck that has blue in it. If you are an extremely competitive player, you have to run this, because most of your win conditions are instants and sorceries that cost 2 or less mana. So decks I like to think of that win that way is like Demonic Consultation, the Oracle kind of stuff, or Chain of Smog effects, or Storm, like Brain Freeze. The list goes on. She enables those strategies to work. And then if you're in a pinch, you get removal, and you do it that way. She's
An A-lister, bro. Some competition you are.
You could get a copy of her for $23 from Battle Bond. She's worth every penny. She's just too good. And I'm quite excited for the reprint because A, you get a full art version of her, and B, I think the average player that is kind of like priced out from getting her will get the chance to play her. So that's the nice thing. If the double the product info that I got on Reddit is true, this stuff's going to be really affordable. We got Evacuation as another rare. It's one of the best blue removal or board wipes in the game because you can cast it at instant speed. The same reason that it's not as good as Cyclonic Rift, because Cyclonic Rift hits every non-land permanent and bounces your opponent's stuff. I think the main draw of Cyclonic Rift is you could do it on instant speed on the turn of the player right before yours, and Evacuation fits that bill as well. The only thing that sucks is its price tag. It's only worth $3. That will be a bit of a letdown to open up in a pack. Land Tax is getting another reprint. This is another one of those cards like Insurrection and Omnath where I just don't see it that much anymore. I don't play Land Tax anymore. I haven't played Land Tax in years. It's a spell that does nothing to the board. And the game is getting so fast, you won't get as many triggered events as you would think. And if you lead the turn order and you have the most lands in play, then it's essentially a do nothing for the first few turns that you have it in play. You'd have to purposely take a turn off to not play a land and get those lands. But I highly recommend you don't do that because putting yourself behind for a trigger is always a bad idea. And you get a copy of Land Tax for $33. I think this card is incredibly overrated. I would never pay $33 for this card. It does nothing. It doesn't win you the game. Not for that price tag. For $33, you could get a spell in your deck that could win you the game. Like, I think Expropriate is around that price range. So like, why pay this kind of money for, I guess, a quality of life kind of a card? I just hate this card. I don't understand its price range, or if it is as popular as this price indicates. I don't know why people play it or pay that much for it. That's my personal opinion. You could disagree or agree with me in the comments below. I'm very curious what y'all have to say. Next up, we got Maelstrom Wanderer. Now, this is the other elemental where I said the pastel background really lends itself to the cartoony stuff. It makes me think of comic books, kind of like Ikoria. This looks spectacular, just like Omnath. This looks more like an elemental, even though Omnath looked like more like an ooze in it, but this looks awesome. And in terms of if I still see this, I would say rarely. It's still good. It has that rubber band effect of cascading twice, and it enables all your creatures that have haste. I see him more in the 99 than I do as a commander nowadays, but I don't know if he's worth revisiting though in terms of playing. There's just way too much stuff to try out that's new. So like, I don't know if giving it a facelift is enough to bring back its popularity.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
See, you get a copy for $16 from Eternal Masters. Karador the Ghost Chieftain. It's pretty good. I like the cost reduction for each creature in your graveyard because you shouldn't be paying more than 3 mana for this commander at any stage of the game based on that cost reduction. So the only thing that's a bummer is there are fewer and fewer turns in the game nowadays that I don't know if you're going to be getting that much value for being limited to casting one creature spell from your graveyard. A way you can kind of get a way around it is if you flicker Karador, it's a new iteration, or it has a new identity, so it allows you to recast more stuff from your graveyard. So if you run creatures that flicker other creatures on ETB, that'd be quite a fun little build of Karador. And I think the amount of products since Karador first came out is worth looking into. You get a copy of Karador for, 84 cents or 68 cents from Commander Legends. Ooh, if you got that as a rare, that might sting a little bit. We have Azusa, Lost But Seeking. Another, I think the theme is if you're a legendary creature, you get a pastel background. For the most part. I like this one because I guess the green lends itself to the color identity of the card. I wish they did that with most of these. Like the Selvala one doesn't make any sense. So it's like pink and this one's green and it makes way more sense. You could get a copy of Azusa for $8. This card's pretty awesome. it's extremely dense of a 3-drop. If you're not going to run Wayward Sawtooth or the Dryad that gives you an additional land drop, I feel like you can't skip on Azusa, because making it so you can make 3 land drops a turn is insane. The other exception to what you should be playing is Exploration, because it's 1 mana investment to play in a single additional land. If you had to choose only a handful of those extra land drops on a card, I think Azusa and Exploration are the must-haves. Krenko Mob Boss.
We do not speak his name.
This guy is still a Reign of Terror in Commander. It's one of those kill on sight kind of commanders. It probably will never lose that kind of fear when someone pulls this out at a table. It's just a snowball effect that gets you killed all the time. You could get a copy for $4. It's a little disappointing if you open him, but I feel like a lot of people already have a version of him since he's been printed so many times before this. I don't know if this is something people wanted because of how many times it's been printed. People would rather have more expensive rares and mythics or things that haven't got a lot of printings, and Krenko doesn't fit that bill, unfortunately. Chainer was just printed in Dominator Remastered like Urza. This guy is just a nightmare. Get a nightmare because he makes nightmares, but he's probably one of the best commanders with a mana sink ability. Stealing other people's creatures and then pumping them up is a really nice, or if Chainer dies, the nightmares get exiled. You kind of deny your opponents from reanimating their own stuff, which if you're ever in a mirror matchup with where people are playing reanimation spells, you hate to see this on the other side of the table, because A, you're not going to get to reanimate it yourself, and B, killing the commander doesn't solve the problem because you're not getting your creatures back. I think this is another one of those Krenko cards. Yeah, you could get the full art version for 25 cents. The better looking version with the bro tribal tattoo. Yeah, that's another bit of a slap in the face that no one really asked for. What the hell am I looking at? I don't know what oh God. I wonder who was in charge of the design of my boy here. Like, I get it, all these legendary creatures are getting a side profile view, and for whatever reason, they thought it was a good idea to do it for this guy, and he doesn't have a whole lot of distinguishing features from his profile. And plus the magnification also doesn't help. Like, I can't tell what I'm looking at unless you read the title of the card, and it leaves a lot to imagination should the title not be there. Like, to me, it reminds me of the giant artillery bugs from Starship Troopers, the ones that shoot giant bombs from its butt. It looks like a butthole with a very hard stool poking out. Maybe it's immature that's what comes to mind, but human beings have associative minds. So when you look at something and it doesn't quite make sense, you pull from things that you know, and Starship Troopers and constipation comes to mind. I think the constipation part comes from because I'm a nurse. I see it all the time, so it's the thing I think of when I see this. It's like looking at clouds in the sky and deriving images from the shape of it, and oh God, and then the little tentacles are little tapeworms. It's so gross. Oh, who's in charge of this? I hate what they did to this card. It's embarrassing. Like, you would think that someone in a boardroom would look at this and be like, nah, I don't like it. Someone would have had to say something, but we get this. If anything, it just looks like if you don't think it's a butthole, or you don't think it looks like the bug from Starship Troopers, it looks like a pile of rocks or a mountain face. Like, what are you doing? Let's go with the price. Prices, you get one for $11. It's very, again, kind of middle of the road. And I think people do genuinely want this card. I just don't think they want this art. You can get this one, but like, if you're going to be making fancy versions of things, make it appealing to the eye. This does not do it for me, and I imagine it won't do it for much more in the future. Oh man, I feel like people have been waiting for these for an incredibly long time. The medallions, they're some of the best quote unquote ramp. They're coupons, but it's the best ramp because you could string a lot of spells in a single turn because of stuff like this. It also has a generic mana cost, so it makes it easier to play. And it doesn't suffer from summoning sickness like a mana dork. The only thing is that's a bit of a drawback is you only want to be playing these in 1 to 2 color decks, but it's a staple in 1 color decks. And I think most of these had gotten up to $20 to $30 in price. So for what it does and how popular they are, we were long overdue. You get Pearl Medallion for $32. Holy cow. If you have the Tempest one, it's a little more expensive. If you have the misprint of Pearl or any of the medallions, that's worth a lot of money. Those of you who don't know, I haven't personally seen one, but they exist. Let's look it up. Interesting. So some of the Sapphire, Emerald, and Ruby medallions in English, German, or Portuguese. There's like a very faint overlay. Yeah, you could see little Charlie Browns once you magnify the image. That's really cool. You could make it out very clearly on medallion or on the Emerald medallion. Not so much on this corner you could see it on Sapphire medallion. Fellow Archstone's getting a reprint. The more desirable version is the full art. I'm kind of glad they didn't do any like extreme upshift in rarity like they typically do. I think the worst offender of this was in the low tier set of recent memory where they gave Bajuka Bog either rare or mythic. I think it was mythic. Gonna look that up now. Yeah, you got a mythic upshift. If you're paying $10 for a Bajuka Bog, you're out of your mind. It feels kind of weird because I'm starting to like get this feeling that nothing is really sacred anymore.
What?
You know what I mean? Because I have the secret lair Fellow Archstone with the 40k Blood Bowl version where it's the football with spikes in it. I feel like nothing's really safe. You know what I mean? Like I think I spent $30 on that secret lair, but there was much more in than just Felwar Stone that was valuable. Like Defense of the Heart is spectacular, and so is Aggravated Assault and what have you. But I think this Felwar Stone looks better than a random football. You know what I mean? Like it makes me less. Because that was like the main draw for me to be buying secret lairs, and that you get full art treatments, which is the only ones I typically buy from secret lairs, full art treatments of stuff, because I like the storytelling of it all. And don't get me wrong, the story of Blood Bowl is still cool, but I like to keep things in the MTG lore as much as possible, and this does. And I could probably get this for dirt cheap. You'll probably be able to get this for less than $1. You could get any other version of Felwar Stone for 50 cents or less. So I don't expect this to be more than $1 if it is more than $1 because of that uncommon printing. Luckily, there hasn't been a full art printing of Arcane Signet, but if there's ever a secret lair that comes out down in the future and they feature an Arcane Signet that's full art, I'm going to be less inclined to buy it because I'll already have one. So I wish Wizards was a little more careful with what they pick to give a full art treatment of. Like they should only do that to cards that already doesn't have an iteration that's full art. That subject matter comes up later in the video, but you could get Arcane Signet for 50 cents again. Path of Ancestry. Now this is another card that had gotten a full art treatment in a secret lair, as I think it was the one with Teferi, and like I think it was like a Father's Day secret lair, or I like this Path of Ancestry more. The one from that secret lair is very specific and weird. Like it has Teferi's kids on it. I think this is a little more open, and it just depends on what your preferences are. Like for whatever reason, I'm more drawn to this than the secret lair version. People could tell me how they feel about it in the comments below, if what I'm saying makes any sense. Command Tower is now getting an affordable full art treatment. The only other full art treatment we got of this was there was the secret lair for Fortnite. They had random inserts in there, and I was unfortunate not to get the Command Tower when I got the Pyrite Spellbomb. I never really had room in my decks for Pyrite Spellbomb, but I have it, and I ended up going out and buying a copy of Command Tower, the Spire. They look roughly the same to me, this version. At least it's affordable. It's not going to be $18 like what I paid for my full art version, but that's exciting, I think, for most people. This Command Tower, it just feels very similar in terms of style. I think I'm still going to stick with my Spire version, but I could see myself like keeping a copy of this and then selling my other one because it just has better trade value. This is the third iteration of a full art treatment of Soul Ring that we have gotten. I think this one's best because it actually has a ring on it. The other two didn't have a very clear ring. Like, we go back to the Teferi Secret Lair. I call it the Wakanda Forever because it's got like, it looks like the guard from Black Panther, one of the guard, and the other Soul Ring iteration has like a weird style to it. It kind of reminded me of Adventure Time a little bit, and it's just like a bunch of eyeballs in a ring floating in the air. I like the story that this Soul Ring tells way more. It's the center of the universe, kind of like the sun. A lot of people depend on Soul Ring for decks to really take off. You get a copy of this for $1.45. I don't know what this fuller version is going to go for, but as an uncommon, I don't imagine too much. So that does it for today's spoiler video. I look forward to the next ones coming up. I think there's going to be a lot of polarizing feelings about this set based on what we've seen so far. I think we're in the first 40 of the 233 now, because I think I just covered 27 of the new ones, and I had covered 13 previously. I think some people are going to be extremely disappointed because of the EV. Like, we just went over a lot of duds that's going to be in the set, and this set's not going to all be mythics and rares because it has to be a draftable set. And the reason why they do draft boosters is so they could help local stores, because local stores make money on doing drafts. From what I was reading in that Reddit post, the guy goes over like the profit margins. Distributors sell about 5% more than what they buy from WotC, and that's the profit margin that they can afford to do that at, because they get such a huge quantity of products that they can pay everyone's salary off of just 5%. And then once it gets trickled down to the LGSs, they upsell what they buy from distributors by an additional 10%. So by the time it leaves WotC and gets to them, it should be a 15% increase. I don't think that's why the prices are what they are right now on TCG Player. I think these prices are just based on hype. If things are getting double the printing with all the duds that I've already discussed in just today's review alone, I don't see how the EV could possibly make it up, because all the singles are going to go down in price. This is a master set. There's no way anything could go up in value until like it's out of print and we're years down the road. And by then there'll be so many reprintings and Secret Lair or just other sets. I don't see how it could retain value or keep going up higher again. And I think so far between yesterday and today, there are only 4 of the 40 cards that I've discussed that had a dollar value above $40. If you want to include the medallions, that's 9, but that's like a $30 margin, all of which are going to lose value come the release of the set and a few months after. And then with every subsequent printing of these cards, it only goes down. So I don't see this being a reasonable price to be buying at, with the knowledge I have and hopefully with what people are armed with after watching my video. I'd like to thank everybody. I think I now have close to 100 subscribers. Hey, I made it to triple digits.
You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking.
I do this because I love sharing information, and Magic's a big part of my life, and I find it important that everyone's a strong consumer of a hobby that we all love. And whether I had 1 subscriber or 100, I'd keep doing what I do. It's fun. It's a good way to keep up my editing skills as well. There's so many reasons why I do what I do, but it makes me feel great when I do something and I get, a 2,000 view recognition. It put a lot of work into my thought processes and organizing all this. And then the editing part is like the excruciating, brutal thing. It's nice to see the work pay off time to time. And I appreciate all y'all that subscribe, and I appreciate everyone that watches. Keep staying motivated to keep doing this. Have a good night.